We are halfway through our very ambitious 3.5-week timeline to transform this castle into a top-performing short-term rental and event space.
In case you missed our previous video last week, we purchased a 5,000 square foot villa in Albuquerque, New Mexico using subject to financing, and now we're pretty much fully consumed with setup work.
We say pretty much because we do still have a property management business to run from 700 miles away, so that still does take up a good part of our day, but aside from that, it's kids and setup work.
I'm exhausted.
We left off last week talking about a concrete job that was going to take place in the front yard, and that's really been a big transformation for that space.
They got the whole job done in 2 days. Day one was removing the existing tile and building the forms. We had originally planned for them to just pour concrete right over the tops of the tiles.
The guy that we ended up using, he was okay with that, but he had said that he would have rather demoed and removed all the existing tile, but we had a tight timeline and a tight budget, and so we pretty much agreed on not removing the existing tile.
But then once the crew got started, they realized how easily the old tile was coming up. Some of it could even be removed by hand. So we revisited the idea of removing all the tile first.
We came to a good agreement on what they would charge for removing, and like Kylie said, a lot of it came up easily. They had to jackhammer up some of it, but it really wasn't a bad job to take up all that tile. And then that gave them about 1.5 inches more thickness to work with the new concrete slab that they were pouring, which would make it much more robust given that extra thickness.
That was all done on day one, and then the next day they came back and poured the concrete, which was a pretty interesting process to watch, especially for the kids.
They really did a nice job. The new walkways look great, and the whole area is really going to look awesome once we get the planters cleaned up and the turf installed.
Inside, we've been busy assembling furniture, and we mentioned last week that we were thinking about having a big yard sale to sell all of the existing furniture that we won't be using, which is almost all of it.
We started kind of thinking about how much work that would be to like stage all the items, probably 2 days worth really to like get everything organized and get set up for a yard sale. And then there was still the issue of what if some things didn't sell? Then what do we do with it? We have a lot of stuff here, and so that just kind of like
Overwhelmed us.
overwhelmed, yeah.
My yard sale is a failure.
We had a few people suggest to look into estate liquidation, and as excited as we were about the prospect of that and maybe making a little cash to put towards our setup expenses, it ended up being a huge time sink for nothing.
We reached out to a few different ones. We found one woman who was on it, but she admitted that she couldn't really take that much stuff, but she came over right away, picked out several items, and we scored a few $100s and got rid of some things, and that felt nice.
But there was another person who came who knew our timeline and had all of those expectations of ours up front, and came and spent an hour here looking at everything, but then basically strung us along for almost a week before telling us that he ultimately couldn't do the job. He was a very nice guy, but we were disappointed with the lack of transparency from the beginning.
So after that had fizzled out, more time had gone by, and we knew we weren't going to find someone else to like turn around all this furniture in our timeline. We started to look at charities where we can make donations.
I made some calls to some local charities. The first one that I reached out to is called Beds for Kids. It's a local charity here in Albuquerque, thinking that they would at least take the mattresses. They are fine mattresses, they're just a different size than what we need. And it turns out they also take all bedroom furniture. So they are going to come and take 6 bedrooms worth of beds and mattresses and nightstands and dressers and all of these things off of our hands.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge help for us getting rid of 6 mattresses and bedroom sets. Mattresses aren't allowed to be resold, so they have to go to some kind of donation organization. So this is why we initially reached out to them, is to find a home for the mattresses. But it's going to be a huge help. The mattresses go away, all the bedroom furniture goes away, and it helps people in need.
The important difference here is with win-win-win, we all win.
And then the woman from Beds for Kids told me about another charity who would potentially take all the rest of the furniture. Called them, and they're going to be coming to pick it up as well.
And all this is going to happen on Tuesday, which still fits nicely with our timeline. Hopefully everything just gets cleared out. The one thing we had thought maybe we'd be able to sell some items, so we aren't doing that. We're donating, which won't give us any cash up front, but we will be able to deduct these donations from our taxes at the end of the year, which still is a benefit to us.
So until the furniture gets picked up, we've basically just been disassembling beds and kind of moving everything that we're not going to be using off to the side so that we can make room in the rooms to assemble the new furniture.
And there's a lot of new furniture. So far, we've put together 5 beds and a lot of benches and nightstands and tables, and it's all coming together. together.
Neither of us really mind putting furniture together if it's quiet and you can just kind of relax and do your thing. But that's partially because we're always equipped with the right tools.
If you open a furniture box and you try and assemble everything with a little Allen wrench or that little wrench piece that they give you, probably not going to be that great of an experience.
So here are the top tools that we make sure to have around during setup jobs, and they're a little bit different for both of us. You can tell who does most of the handiwork in our relationship.
I got a lot of tools. Need a lot of tools.
Tools. Lots of plural tools in my toolbox.
This is a bag that I recently got. It's from Tough Built. It's part of a modular tool system that they have where the bag snaps into other toolboxes that I have to keep bigger power tools. But this bag comes pretty much anywhere I go. Has most everything I would need for assembly jobs, handyman jobs, so I like it a lot. It also fits in the gear tunnel in my truck perfectly, so it's another win.
And it's more manageable for you to carry this like up and downstairs or room to room versus big toolbox.
For furniture assembly, I pretty much like to use my drill for most things where it'll reach. Most furniture you'll find these days comes with either 4 or 5 millimeter Allen key bolts, and so I keep those bits around. They're easy to put into the drill, and you can adjust this torque setting to make sure you're not like over torquing things depending on what you're putting together. Speeds up the process a lot.
I find the drill to be a little bit too heavy and bulky, so instead I use this electric screwdriver, and then I will borrow Steven's driver bits if I need a specific one, like for an Allen wrench. And I always put it back exactly where I found it.
The first rule of tools is tools always go back in the tool place, the tool bag when you're not using them, but we have a tough time with that.
Stop going through my stuff.
There have been some little tricky pieces, like some side tables that require something even shorter than the electric screwdriver. What do you call this thing?
Stubby. This is my Klein Tools little modular driver bit thing. Got bits, nut drivers. I like this a lot.
And this little wrench came with a Zinus bed, and this has been useful for both of us as well.
And you'll notice for some reason this isn't in my tool bag. I'm not sure.
I was using it. I was putting a table together.
I'm not sure why. It belongs right there.
Here.
You can keep that because I have another one of those. We're gonna link all these tools in the description below, or you can go to arrivals.com/tools, get links to all the stuff that we like to use.
The rooms are quickly coming together, despite having all of the old furniture pushed to the side, and the lighting and the curtains haven't been switched out yet either.
I'm gonna probably spend one of these days this weekend just knocking out as many light fixtures as possible. Most of them are pretty straightforward changeouts. There are a couple with 3-way switches or little complicated wiring setups that I gotta deal with. Hopefully that goes pretty quickly.
And then there will be the terrifying job of replacing the chandelier in the entryway. At least terrifying for me to watch. That was delivered a few days ago, and it's going to require us renting scaffolding to reach the ceilings, which we think are 20 feet tall.
I measured, they're 21 feet tall. Yeah, I was kind of worried about this, didn't know what we were gonna rig up to like get up to that light fixture.
Now tell them what you were thinking. Balancing a ladder between like the two staircases.
Probably work. Kylie had a different idea. She looked at scaffolding rentals from Home Depot. I can't fit like some 15-foot A-frame ladder in my truck, but the scaffolding breaks down into smaller pieces. We'll fit in the truck. We can bring it over here, put it together, and then safely handle that light. Good on her for doing a little planning.
Simply trying to keep my husband alive.
We also still have to do curtains, which is probably also something that Steven's gonna just knock out in one swoop. I ordered one set just to make sure that we like it, and then we'll be going room by room and ordering all the rest of them as well.
One of the things we find interesting about this house is it is mostly all brick construction and then stuccoed on the outside, so there's a lot of hammer drilling about to go on when we're mounting curtains and TVs and things like that.
But despite how huge this project is and the couple of setbacks that we've had, we still are on track to host an open house here next Saturday. And if you follow us on Instagram or TikTok, then you've heard us talk about this. We plan to tentatively host a open house here next weekend for event planners.
We have 2 partners in this project, Mike and Katie, who are great friends of ours. Kylie and I are going to be handling like the day-to-day operations and sort of the property management aspect of this property because that's what we do. But Mike and Katie will also bring some important skills to the equation.
You may have heard us talk about Mike before in any of our insurance videos. He's an insurance broker and he handles all of the policies for our business and also many of our clients as well. So behind the scenes, he's been working on the complicated policy that a property like this requires.
Katie is a corporate event planner in San Diego. She's an expert in that field. She's been making connections and reaching out to local event planners in New Mexico, letting them know about the change of ownership of this venue and and how we're going to relaunch it very quickly.
She sent out a bunch of emails telling them about this change of ownership and about our plans for updating the interior and the exterior of the property, and also inviting them to our open house. And we've had a great response so far. Many of the people responded back and said that they were familiar with the property and they were excited to come to our open house and see what we've done to the place.
We've also learned over the past week that the property has been used for some filming projects.
We were told 90 Day Fiance. We don't know if that's true or not, so if you watch that show and you recognize this house, let us know what episode it's in.
We do know that there is an interesting kind of building film scene in the Albuquerque area. Netflix has a studio here, and there's another production studio being set up. So we're going to try and make connections with those type of people, let them know about the space, and see if it might work for some of their projects.
That's pretty much it for our update this week. A lot of cardboard to deal with, multiple trips to the recycling center.
Yeah, we also have a mountain of bagged styrofoam. I don't really want to think about getting rid of that. That's going to be a job.
But other than that, things are pretty much going as planned and on schedule. So that's it for today, but we'll leave another video here on screen we think you might want to check out next.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.